Welcome back to another episode of Honey Never Sleeps. This week I am joined by Donald, the founder of Howuku, and we'll be talking about how Howuku is simplifying analytics and optimization, essentially decoding conversion rate optimization. Donald, please introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Donald Ng. I'm the founder and CEO of Howuku. So Howuku is an all-in-one website analytics and optimization platform. We help product managers and marketers to understand user behavior and to boost your conversion rates for your website. So that's what Howuku is.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on the show and coming to share a little bit more. So let's get to know you a little bit more, Donald. Kind of where did you come from? How did you suddenly decide to create Howuku? Sometimes that's a bit of a mouthful for me.
So my journey on how I come about to creating Howukus, right? So I have been a software developer for all my entire life. So my background is in software development. I have more than 13 years of software development experience already. So before I started this journey with Howuku, I was just building a lot of software. I am also a product guy myself, so that means I also build a lot of product software during my free time. And then, but then you know how it is. So you create a lot of product, but then they don't get any traction, so it just die off, right? So with this product that I have created, a lot of it, I don't really understand why they just die off. I don't really understand why am I already getting user to the product, but it just doesn't work out. So it is a mystery to me. So that's why I started to explore into more of this user experience and user journey platform to try to understand the user journey, right? So to my shocking, these kind of software, they are actually very, very expensive. So we are talking about somewhere around $500 up to $1,000 or even $10,000 per month. Wow. Up to something like that, right? So
just to track user behavior.
Just to track user behavior and to record their user behavior, right? To understand what their journey are like. So I was like, that is so freaking expensive, right? So to me, myself, I cannot imagine how smaller businesses, especially the businesses here in Southeast Asia, can be affording that kind of price point. So I was thinking that, I always know that entrepreneurship is my calling. I wanted to do that. So also I have the skill of coding and I have the passion for business. So what kind of business can I start to do that? So this is the problem that I wanted to solve also to scratch my own itch, right? So that's when I decided to start doing this and to build a software that I love, that I can really use for all my future product as well, right? So that's when I started to do this. And then as we started to get some traction, that is in the midst of the pandemic.
Okay.
So I quit my previous job to do it full time during the so-called Great Resignation period.
Oh, okay.
Time.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's when I started and how we grew from there.
So a pandemic baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they call it.
Oh, Nectar is also a pandemic baby.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting. And so obviously, you found a problem because you had that problem. You were building these products, they weren't getting traction. You couldn't understand why. You went to look to how to understand why. There were tools, but they're just far overpriced or outpriced for your particular size. And that's where you found a problem that you were passionate with solving.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And so how did you then get started when you decide to quit your job? Quite a scary thing to do, especially for anyone, and even more so in the height of a pandemic where you don't know what the economy looks like. Talk me through that.
Yeah, so it was obviously a very scary action, and you can't actually do that without any traction. So, I mean, I'm taking a very good comfortable job, right? But then it doesn't give me any fulfillment because like I wanted to build something for myself. I wanted to build my own legacies, not just building some other people's dreams, right? So that's when I decided to do that. And it is obviously a very risky move because I'm essentially just giving up my very comfortable lifestyle and stepping into this full of uncertainty kind of journey. And how I make my decision is also because that I was running this, I have had this opportunity to, I was approached by some guy to sort of set up this, the lifetime deal kind of campaigns where we are selling our product at a very affordable pricing to get it to launch with a larger audience, to try to get people to test it out, to get product feedback. And in turn, we are getting a small so-called funding from customer-funded kind of project. So with that funding, we were able to sustain the company for a year or two. So
you kind of did a sort of crowdfunding, which then made you feel less afraid to quit your job, right? Because you had some capital to essentially burn to survive. Whilst you gain that early traction.
Right. Also with the early traction that we are getting from there, I reckon that it is my time is not enough to juggle around a full-time job as well as this so-called side project. So I thought that it is unreally fair that I took up the full responsibility to scale the business because I already have a large size of customer there that's depending on my business, and they are building their business on top of my business, right? So there are also a lot of things that we needed to do. So so that's when I decided, okay, so now I have this backup plan right here. I have this capital that can support me to go full-time on this business and really give it a shot, right?
I had a different but somewhat similar. When I decided to quit my job, I looked at the pros and cons. Sort of, if I quit my job, I won't have a salary. And I had just bought a house, so like here in Malaysia, so now I had a mortgage, which was quite scary. And I knew that I couldn't pay myself. But I also, when I wrote up the pros and cons, I was like, well, if I'm full-time, if I've been able to do this part-time on the side, just when I've got a few hours, think of what I can do if I put everything into it and how quickly we can scale and how quickly I could return that income that I was obviously losing for my own personal expenses and how quickly we could scale. And that all went into sort of my thought process before I quit. And honestly, it's probably one of the scariest things to do, but the fact that you have traction, you've got customers, I'm assuming they're paying customers at this point. That kind of definitely eases things. And how then did you navigate, build upon that early traction that you had? Because you're saying you quit your job during the pandemic. It's a very different, people are not used to doing business in this way now, where everything is online all of a sudden, everything's shifting. How did you then shape that early trajectory when you had quit your job?
I would say during that period of time, a lot of like the Great Resignation, a lot of people are quitting their job to start their own business as well. So a lot of people are starting their own e-commerce store. They are starting their own agencies as well because like there are so many marketing gurus right here to teach people to start their own agencies, right? During that period of time. So there are a lot more agencies than ever. So one business opportunity that we have out of the pandemic is that we are doing these white label things with agencies. So it's like with Howuku, it is a optimization platform, analytics and optimization platform. But then with the agencies, we get a lot of interest in white labeling. They wanted to kickstart their own conversion optimization service line, and to do that, they will need some sort of software to support them, right? So either they source from some other people or they start their own. So with that, we are actually providing them a very easy way of white labeling Howuku into their own branding and selling the service as under their own brand, so they can service their customer with the software, but then everything's under them.
That's interesting. So you saw a market trend of essentially there are tons and tons of these agencies popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
Because of there's growth here, let's move the product direction there. So you turned it white label so that you could essentially service that new growing demand.
Right.
And did you make that sort of, because you're a startup, obviously you can move faster. Was that just sort of a quick turnaround? Okay, one day you were like, oh, there's a lot more agencies, let's do this? Or, how did you come to that decision?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of experimentation, right? In startup, you try out this way, you try that direction and see which works and whatnot. But then with the white label things, it is working quite well for us, actually. So that is one aspect of where we get most of our revenue as well. And on the other side, we also have these product managers that's coming from small to mid-size level companies. So
these guys want to understand how people are using their apps.
It is more of coming from the customer feedback, because we are getting a lot more agencies as our customer, and we noticed that there are a lot of the very similar team around that they wanted to white label, they wanted to apply their own branding, they wanted to apply their own URL, their own email, because they are servicing their clients, and they wanted to send out the emails from their own client, their emails, right? So we are seeing a pattern there. There's the demand over there. So we thought, because I'm also a product guy, so I thought that I also write all the codes myself. So I thought, since if there's this kind of demand, and if I can do it, so why not? Let's give it a shot, because the effort to me is not that huge, and there's a lot of upside than downside. So why not give it a shot and try it? Okay. And we sort of make it work out that way. Yeah.
And how has that evolved then? You mentioned you're the coder. You just code it yourself. Are you still coding now? Are you still in the shop floor writing the lines?
I try to not code as much these days, but I still pretty much code a lot. What I mean by that, usually I spend my weekend coding, because that's the least busy for me. I don't need to take care of the business side of things and all the customers, all the team members and stuff. So I just, to answer your question, I still code a lot, but I try to do it in a less busy time. Yeah.
And have you found that your life has very much evolved now because you have a business that is scaling? You're not just a coder anymore. You're not a programmer anymore. You're a business owner. You've got company culture to think about. You've got payroll, cash flow, fundraising. Has that been a challenge for you to adapt to?
I would say for the first year or two, it is very much a challenge for me to kind of get used to. But then as the time goes on, I guess I'm getting quite used to I'm getting used to it already. When I was just starting out, as a coder, everything is just, I think I have the benefits of being stupidly optimistic in a way. To start this business and to think that I guess that's the
it's the one thing all entrepreneurs we're all stupidly optimistic.
So I started out this business, right? Just thinking, okay, so if I can code, I have this product, and all I needed to do is I just sell it, right?
Yeah, just find customers.
Just find customer. But then
should be easy, right?
But then how wrong am I? But so I kind of getting used to it. So nowadays there are obviously a lot of talking to investors, talking to customer, user interview, and all of that, trying to shape out the company culture, try to meet payroll and all of that. So coding is essentially becoming a much smaller part of the business aspect. But then we are, in the end of the day, we are still a software company, right? So everything is still revolving around the software.
Of course.
So I'll still try to make my time to write code, but nowadays we do already have some programmers, other developers in our team to do that already. Yeah, but mostly my time is just trying to do R&D and stuff, and AI and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And as you've been building this company, obviously you just mentioned you've hired some coders and things like that. How has it been in terms of becoming a recruiter as well? Essentially, well, we're the founder, we're also like the chief recruiter for the company, especially building like our leadership team and sort of those key personnel. How has that experience been for you? Going from just, I doubt you were, but imagining, dark room coder.
Yeah.
So, come and sell my vision. Come
Yeah, that's
come
true.
join this startup.
I mean, it's a little bit like it's a little bit like the sales process, right? So as a very introverted guy, a developer, making your first couple of sales call, right? This is like very awkward. You don't know what you're doing, but after a couple more, you sort of learn from it, right? So interview is also like that. So I just sort of take it as an opportunity to learn and try to adjust my the way that I conduct this interview and try to experiment, try to A/B testing in a way to try to see what kind of pitch works for this in soft way. And also with that, it's not just pitching to this talent, right? They are trying to get a job, and we are also trying to sell, a bit of both. So they are just, so it's not just that. It's not just pitching the idea to selling the idea to try to get people to join your team. It is also trying to find out what are your company culture are and what kind of talents that can work well with your company. What kind of culture do you want to build, right? There's also another challenge which we can only learn as we go, hiring people and see what works and what not. If it's not working out,
and culture is probably one of the hardest things to build.
Yeah,
especially from scratch, especially with limited income or budgets to spend on things that can engage employees. Instilling values, finding the right people that fit those values, and you will get it wrong constantly. I think we all need such a high tolerance for pain as founders to go, I got it wrong, that sucked, now I've got a huge problem, time to fix it, and enjoy that. You've got to enjoy fixing problems all the time.
Yeah, every single day.
Every single day there's a new problem, right? It's never ending. Do you find have you found taking leave and holiday has been easy for you during this last sort of 3 years of building Howuku?
To be honest, no, not at all. I don't think I
have you not had a holiday?
No, I don't think so.
Donald a holiday.
I mean I did take holiday because as a Chinese we would definitely take holiday off for the Chinese New Year. But then during the Chinese New Year, it's just home writing codes. It's still the same.
You just get super into it. I haven't had a proper holiday myself since we started Nectar Group. I am planning to start adding holidays, and I've decided to give myself the proper rest, that I take the 3-4 day holidays, and I don't take my phone, I don't take my laptop, and I just disconnect from the digital world just for a few days. And I'm going to be doing it for the first time in September, so I'm hoping that it's very enlightening. And just give me that break, because you never stop. And of course you can't be stopping, Donald, because you were talking about, the main problem that you are passionate about solving is essentially enabling small businesses to track that user behavior, but not at a price tag that's uncomfortable, not at a price tag that is perhaps unachievable. So how have you been able to then maintain a affordable price for Howuku, where your competitors, perhaps they've built it more complex, I don't know, but whereas they are not able to compete on price, how have you been able to keep it affordable?
It is mostly because of great engineering. So we put a lot of efforts into, because obviously I'm a software guy, product first. So we have put a lot of efforts into optimizing the backend of the codes, because right now we are also, can you imagine needing to process terabytes, a couple of terabytes of data every single day, every single month. So that is obviously something that would be very costly. But then we are trying to, we're finding ways to do that in a way that it is scalable and it can maintain at a lower price point where we don't sacrifice the performance for the amount of data that we are collecting and processing. So we don't pass that cost to our customer, because obviously we are trying to build a product that is affordable for our customer. And that is very important because especially nowadays, more and more of these other competitors, since they are already in the industry for so long. So for one, they are probably because they are also been in the industry for so long, their infrastructure is quite ancient in a way that it is very hard for them to scale, and then they are and then they have a lot of, like how companies moving so fast, and you have a lot of employees come and go, and then the code you need to maintain from different people. So it would be a huge challenge for them to change up things, to move fast and all of that.
Over time they build up like a tech debt.
Yeah, a tech debt, exactly. So yeah, I guess that is also one way, one reasons why the other competitors cannot do what we are doing right now, because we are a new company, relatively new company, and we build everything from ground up, taking a ground up approach where we are sort of breaking up all the processes and trying to build everything from ground up, understanding and simplifying things and see what works and what not, and sort of just piecing things up. And that way is making us very lightweight in a way that we can sort of scale the way we can scale right now. So
with the way you're now optimize, going through that data, those terabytes of data that you mentioned, and how you've been trying to build, that back-end optimization, are you now at a point where at your pricing you are able to be profitable, based on your at least your gross? So you've got it optimizing at a good cost ratio now.
Yes, definitely. So that's the goal, right? Trying to build a business that you can scale and still maintain a healthy margin. We are growing at a positive margin, at a very comfortable margin, as every software company should be. I would say we are not sacrificed too much to make us while giving out software that's affordable for our customer.
Okay, that's really good to hear. And you were talking about how your competitors have obviously got these huge complex products with a lot of hand changes. Obviously you I assume haven't had to go through many hand changes. Do you envision that you could have similar issues, like a tech debt where you've been changing hands and it's just a bit too complex to then optimize further? Or are you building in some sort of systems and processes to enable you to not get that massive tech debt in the future? And how would you advise, just to add on to that, how would you advise, other tech founders who are either going on this journey at the same time or about to go on this journey to avoid tech debt?
To be very honest, do I foresee that we would be facing the same issue maybe 5-10 years down the road? Probably, because tech debt is obviously something inevitable. Inevitable. So we would probably also facing that. It is a tough question. So because building a business, you can't really scale prematurely. You're trying to over-engineer everything because you're afraid of 5-10 years down the road, you would be facing a lot of tech debt. On the other side, you also need to be focusing on growth, the speed to market and all of that.
Balance.
You really need to find a balance and not overdoing any one of those. To answer your questions, yes, I would think that we would also be experiencing that in 5-10 years probably. But at the moment, it's just me who is handling all of that. And obviously, I'm also trying to balance that, right? And
have you built any mitigating processes or SOPs into the business when you're deploying and developing, how you're documenting so that someone could take over in the future? Are you kind of putting in processes to mitigate potential tech debt in the future?
At the moment, no.
At the moment.
Yeah,
Perhaps after this.
yeah, perhaps after this. I mean, at this point, we are sort of just trying to, like I said, we're trying
Be
to
super flexible.
be super flexible, be super fast. Yeah, trying to push the products out the door and try to get as much of our product feedback and try to push the growth at this point. So for all the processes in terms of the technical processes and whatnot, it's not the priority at the moment.
It's all about user growth.
Yeah, user growth and trying to just sort of experimenting to see what works and what not is the priority right now.
You've talked quite a lot about feedback, and obviously as you're scaling, you've been doing, at the beginning you were talking about, obviously you're doing investor meetings and so on, but you've been doing customer interviews and now you're still doing customer feedback loops. How are you doing customer feedback? How are you then collecting that as you scale and get even more and more customers? How are you keeping that loop with your clients?
So we would have a system in place where we would monitor our customers' usage. Mm-hmm. So collecting data is something that's very important. So we collect data from our customer, understanding what are their usage are like. And then from there, we would try to understand who are our power users. And then we'll reach out to them and try to get them to do user interview with us to try to understand their use case better, to help us to build a better product so they can also be benefited from it. So so that's what we do. We reach out to them. We ask for user interview, or we also, that is one thing. And on the other side, we also try to reach out to our potential customer through LinkedIn, through cold email as well, to try to get people to conduct user interview with us and trying out new ideas to try to see what people care about and how we can further shape our product in a way that can benefit to this user.
So the power users, when you're actually your customers, you identify that they're using Howuku all the time, and then you interview them to just get a better idea of how they're using, so you can then consider that for your roadmap down the line. And it's very much a product-led strategy.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
So we also do like a customer case study. We also try to understand what are their use cases and how they improve their business with Howuku. So that's also that.
Okay, cool. How many customers have you got now? How many customers have you got onboarded?
How many customers? For the customers, I believe it is at around 300 onboarded customer.
Okay, 300. So is this like quite a manual affair when we're dealing with doing these customer interviews? Because that's quite a lot of people. And obviously if you're a startup, I can't imagine you have hundreds of staff in customer success. So is this quite a manual approach, or is there some level of automation keeping that feedback loop going as well?
Oh yeah. Definitely. So how that works is that we do have onboarding. We do have an email sequence in place to automate all of that. Where whenever someone have used Howuku for a while, we'll send out emails to ask about what are the experience like, right? And then after they have becoming a customer, we will then try to get them to leave us a review and try to get them to do a user interview as well to try and understand why they have decided to pull the trigger, why they have, what are the kind of
why
problem.
Why decide to buy?
Yeah. What is something that we done right and make you decided that you wanted to pull the trigger. Yeah. So it is with the customer review and case studies. Then it can then be used as our marketing material to then try to push it to more new prospect and to keep the loop going.
Okay. And do you have quite a lot, what kind of team size do you have, keeping those relationships and those feedback loops and working with your clients? Is it mostly you, or do you have a CS team?
Yeah, I do have a CS person in the team. just a CS person.
Just one.
just
one solo looking after
Yeah.
300 accounts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean that's how small startup
Yeah,
are.
and so that person is, I imagine, 50, 60% of their time is just getting feedback from clients, even perhaps
Yeah.
more of their time.
Yeah.
Talking to clients.
Right,
Give me
talking to
that
clients.
feedback. Give me that feedback. So let's talk a little bit about kind of, you said that, Howuku is an, all-in-one analytics platform. You shared a little bit about what you guys do. How are you then, you said it's for sort of marketers, it's for product managers or product teams. How do they leverage this tool the most? How do they see an improvement in their conversion rate by using Howuku?
So to give you an example on that is that like one of our customer, which is e-commerce store. So a few days after they install Howuku on their website, they found some very interesting insights such that in terms of user experience. So they see that someone actually went through their e-commerce store, found something that they really like, add to cart, and trying to check out. But then the problem is they were not able to do that. Why? It's because when they're trying to key in their credit card numbers, there's something pop up, right? There are some newsletter or promotional pop-up thing shows up, blocking the view. Yeah. They already wanted to pay, but there's this something that's preventing them from doing that. And then the worst is that they were not able to find the cross button to close that thing because of bad UI. Because of bad UI, they were not be able to find X cross button, and they were not able to close that. And then the next thing is they just leave the website
And never come back.
Right? So such a pity because they already decided to pay, but they were not able to. So with this, with an insight like this, a very quick fix is you can just go remove the promotional things from the checkout page.
Yeah.
And that already solved the problem, right? And you'll be greatly increasing your conversion rate. Because these are
I would have just seen that as a cart drop rather than a newsletter pop-up problem. You would have thought, they just dropped the cart.
Yeah.
They changed their mind.
Right.
Because of how you're able to track their actual usage and record their usage on the actual website, you could see the real problem.
Yeah. So what I'm always saying is you don't know what you don't know. So if you, with a tools like Google Analytics, you wouldn't be able to get this kind of insights because all you get is the stats, the analytics, the graphs, and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So
here's how many visitors you got.
Yeah. So you thought that you know what is going on with your website, but you can't actually know until you see it before your own eyes that people are actually struggling on your checkout page, for example. And then there are also another kind of instance where with Howuku, the very same customer, they also found out that people are actually struggling to log into their account whenever they are trying to purchase something or whatever. So they are always using the reset password. They are struggling to log in, and in turn, they are not having a very good experience. So how they solve that after learning that, right, is that you can just pretty much just implement one of those social media login where you can just one-click log in. And that's about it. So these are some of the insights that you can get whenever you're using Howuku with session recordings.
So essentially, like you said, what you don't know, and now you know.
Yeah.
And you can know this at an affordable price.
Yeah.
You're not having to spend thousands of dollars every month to be able to track usage on your site. I think, from an agency perspective, we look after a lot of websites and build websites for our customers and tell them they need to build new websites. And having that insight as to why you're not getting conversion is huge. These guys would have kept losing customers because of a newsletter.
Right.
And they would never have known for a long time. Yeah. That's a really good use case. And so how has that then really simplified the process for them? Not just in making decisions, but tracking that information? Because previously, what would they need to have either these highly expensive products or what would they do previously to solve these problems?
So previously, I would say they wouldn't be able to solve this. So there are two aspects of it. So the first one is previously they wouldn't know that such a tools existed. So they would just use tools like Google Analytics. Nowadays it is GA4, Google Analytics 4, which is super complicated. Even agencies are having troubles using those for their clients.
Yeah.
So previously, without a tools like this, they would need to go through all the hurdles to set up all the very complicated configuration for GA4 to try to sort of get it to work.
Yeah.
And it may not even work that well. And there are another type of customer, which is the one that I spoken earlier, which is people who have this sort of problem, but there are no good solution out there because it is way too expensive.
Yeah.
So what they would be doing is probably to get a free tier kind of plan and then having a lot of limitation on there. So they would ended up not getting the full value out of it. And probably will still have, you wouldn't be able to solve the problem that I say earlier.
So how are you getting Howuku's brand out there? How are you mentioned you're doing a bit of prospecting with a little bit of email, LinkedIn activity, but how are you getting these small businesses to know that you're out there, that you're here to solve their problem?
Over the years, we have tried out different channels. The early days, I would say, is just me going through a lot of websites, Quora, Facebook, Twitter, or Indie Hacker, if you heard about that, to sort of just do some self-promotion. And trying to answer people's questions around how to improve conversion rates, what are some better alternatives to Google Analytics and all that kind of stuff. So just trying to promote ourselves in a way by doing that. And it is obviously not scalable. So, but then we are able to get some very good early customer from there because it is obviously our targeted audience, which is the smaller businesses. And then later on, we move on to SEO, trying to establish our blog post, writing something about website conversion rates and what you can do to use, how you can use heat maps, session recordings, and all of that to improve your website conversion. So nowadays we are doing a lot of SEO, and in the earlier days we are also doing a lot of Google Ads. Google Ads in terms of trying to target our competitors' keywords, which is a channel that is very high intention. We are getting a lot of high intention clicks and people who are obviously not very happy about the competitors and are looking for an alternative that's much more affordable. And then, so that's how people found us and how we grow from there.
It's interesting that first self-promotion is actually kind of, it's something that can be quite scalable if you turn that activity into more of a community building, right? It's just incredibly time consuming to build up a large community. But very, very effective. And I can see why that was where you got all of your early adopters. And so how's SEO, how did you then apply SEO? Was it something that you guys just sort of did in-house? Did you leverage sort of specialists to do that for you?
So we have tried working with freelancers. So we have, so I have scouted out some of these freelancers and see how are their work qualities and all of that, and to see, trying to give them some tasks and see what are the output are like. And then later on, we also try to work with someone who is more permanent, and in hiring a content guy to help us to write content, but then that doesn't really work out that well. So nowadays, it is just basically me. I'm putting out content myself also.
Okay. And then behind that content, you have proper keyword strategies and you're tracking those keywords and okay.
Definitely.
So you're starting to do quite a lot. The more I talk to you, the more I hear you that you're still coding.
Yeah.
You're building the culture, you're doing the recruiting, you're still talking to customers, you're now the SEO guy as well. Are you doing the prospecting too, the email and LinkedIn?
No, that one is my CS person.
Okay, your CS is doing prospecting.
Yeah.
Are you still running ads?
Yeah, we are planning to run more ads soon. Yeah, trying to do more competitors keyword targeting, because that is actually working out quite well for us. Although the CAC value is a bit high in that, but then the conversion rate is actually pretty good.
When you're also doing a lot of reviews, right? So you were asking new customers when they on board to do reviews. Are you doing sort of Google reviews? Are you looking at like G2, Capterra? Like how are you leveraging your reviews to help grow your clients?
Yeah, so for that, usually for software companies, we use G2 and Capterra. So there are a couple of more like what Trust Radius or something. But it's just mainly G2 and Capterra. Yeah, so whenever someone sign up as a customer, we send email to them to ask them to give us a review. In terms, maybe we'll give them the next month for 50% off this soft offering, right? And also another thing we also did, right, is that we do offer extended free trials whenever someone give us a review, and that's also something that we did. Yes, we also offer free trials. So whenever someone is happy enjoying the product but they are not ready to pay yet, we can always give them an extension whenever.
In return for the review.
Yeah.
Okay, very interesting. And have you seen, that review process that you've built into your sales process, your CS processes, drive growth? So you get a lot of traffic from G2?
It is not direct traffic, I would say, but it is indirectly helping us a lot in terms of building up trust with our customers. Because typically how the user journeys are like is that whenever maybe they found you through an ad or a post that you posted 2-3 years earlier, and then they will just go up to this review site to look up for your website. Yeah. And then they see a lot of positive reviews there, and then they trust you more and give you a try. Yeah, so that's how it usually works. Yeah.
What's been the most effective channel for your growth?
I would say now it is the word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth is a very effective one. Usually it is just word of mouth is really effective, because like whenever someone talk about you on social media, and their networks saw that, give you a try, and then obviously there's the rapport is already built there, because some
social
people
proof, social trust.
Yeah, social trust. And to add on
trust again.
Yeah, to add on the social proof, right? Just now you mentioned about the review. We also build that into our landing page, our email marketing campaigns as well, right? To sort of enforce that social trust as well.
Okay. And the word of mouth portion, do you do any form of sort of incentivizing that, or is it just a natural occurrence because your product speaks volumes?
Yeah, it is mostly just natural occurrence. It's just mostly natural occurrence, but we also try to do a little bit of affiliates program, but that one doesn't work out quite well.
Not as exciting.
Yeah, not as exciting. A lot of people sign ups.
Yeah,
but that's about it.
Yeah. The referral incentivization. I think every single software company on the planet will have some form of affiliate scheme or referral scheme. I think Sales Navigator, for example, will give, if they buy, you get 2 months free, or things like that. And then you give them a 2-month free trial. I think that one's quite nice, but mostly it's more or less the same, or you get like a bit of commission, and every single software is offering it. So it's not as an engaging tool anymore. Okay. So you've been on quite an interesting journey. It sounds like what's been the most powerful growth mechanism for you is that you are passionate about building this product, because that's what's getting you the trust.
Yeah.
That's why you're spending so much time doing your customer feedback to continuously improve the product. And that's why you're getting your most top performing channel of word of mouth, because they know and trust that you will solve problems for them. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So what's next for Howuku?
We are sort of trying to incorporate AI into Howuku as well. So with that, the vision for Howuku is that we wanted to build this optimization platform where it is fully powered by AI. So because we understand that our targeted audience, the smaller businesses, most of them are very severely under-resourced. They don't have the...
You can give them the data, but they don't have enough time to read it.
We wanted to help them to analyze the data for them and then make suggestions on what they can do next to optimize their website. So right now we already have this new MVP for this automated optimization platform in place. In place to help our customers to come up with ideas on what you can optimize on your website and how you can use AI to come up with a lot of ideas, and just with a single click of a button, you can already run A/B testing on your website, and starting to also leveraging on machine learning to try to find the best variants on your website. After the algorithm have found the best performing variants, we will then offer the options for you to run autopilots. Autopilots to automatically help you to study on what are your best variants and what make it works, and to help you to automate the entire optimization process again and again. So you don't need to do anything. So that's the vision for Howuku. From data analytics to user behavior to automated optimization to autopilot everything. So that's the future of Howuku. That's what we are trying to build with affordable tools to help these small businesses to optimize this entire thing without breaking their bank. And to help business scale. So that's what we are trying to do.
Yeah, an incredible vision. And I think it all falls straight back to what you said earlier, is like building your own legacy. This is you building your personal vision as well, is to build this as your legacy, to enable these small businesses to scale even as autopilots.
Right.
Yeah. Really, really interesting conversation. You're in a very interesting space, and I think there's a lot more to dive into and sort of the different use cases. I really kind of have enjoyed understanding a little bit about where you came from, how you got started, a little bit about what you guys do, how you then have all that feedback loop. I think there's a lot to be learned from how you've been scaling so far. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we'll see you on the next episode of Honey Never Sleeps. Thank you, everyone.